He's got 29 days to raise 100K. Let's listen to what he's got. Rob.
Wow.
My name is Ed JC Smith. I got a second chance at life, and I'm here to help you live life on your terms.
All right, and welcome to today's session. We are doing from scratch to start again. How would you do it? You got 29 days to make 100K, to earn 100K, and we're interviewing the super successful Rob Moore, author, property guru, speaker, and without further ado, let's bring him on, because a super successful guy who's done several millions in his business. If he had to start again from scratch, what would he do?
I would do one of two things. Not saying this is easy, and I think it depends on your background. So I've got a property background, and packaging deals, selling property deals to other people is definitely somewhere I'd consider starting. I mean, if you're London based or a big city, you can get £5,000 plus for a small deal. You could probably get 10 grand plus for a bigger deal. If you manage to find a block and then pass that on to an investor, you could maybe make the lump in one go. Like I said, not saying it's easy, but if I had to start again, by the way, am I allowed my knowledge that I've built up, Ed, over the last 30
Yes.
years?
Yeah. So that is so that's the purpose of it, really. It's like hacking your quickest way. Like even what you said, it's breaking that further down. I totally get what you mean by finding a block, but how does one find the block? Like what would be, go more granular basis, because, and here's what's beautiful, guys watching, is that Rob as a successful business owner will go high chunk and he'll just go with the bigger picture. And so here's our opportunity to break down the micro specifics that he will more than likely just, it's not that he doesn't know them, he just will overlook them as a kind of, it's just, he will bypass that. So we're going to break them down so you can have a more granular approach to that. Does that make sense, Rob?
Yeah. So let me give you the second thing I'd do, and then I'll go as much detail as you want both of them. So the second thing I'd do is I'd probably build a mastermind or some kind of information marketing training business. So the benefit of an information marketing training business mastermind is you need no stock, no overhead, no office space. You need an internet connection. You don't really need anything. Of course, you need some kind of experience. So what is it that you do for a living? What is it that you've done for 10, 20 or 30 years that you know well? You're into health, you're into fitness. We were talking about facial aesthetics. I've done property. I'm obviously in business, podcasting, books. So let's say it's me. I might think about running a mastermind or who want to write a book. And 20 people at £5,000, 6 months, start with no book, end 6 months with a fully finished book. I've made my 100 grand and I've got 20 authors that have written a book. So that would definitely be something I could do. I could run a business mastermind. I do run business masterminds. So if anyone listening has got experience in something, which we all have, by the way, you might be really fit and healthy and strong. You might not have known yet how to monetize it or package it. Certainly, I think it's easier than ever to kind of monetize your passion. We were talking before the camera went on about Instagram, and how your partner, she's really nailing it, really just from her Instagram account. So I'll come back to that because you wanted me to go into more detail in the first part, which is sourcing property deals. So there's this little, Americans call it a hack, so let's call it a hack. There's this little kind of thing in England which people overlook. You can walk into an estate agent for free. They will take you on viewings for free. You can offer on a property for free. You can pass that on to someone else for a fee, and the estate agent won't charge you. So if you think about the world of consultancy, any other consultant's world, they're going to charge you upfront fees. But estate agents don't charge buyers fees. They charge the sellers fees. So 29 days, you've got a camera in front of my face, you're making a documentary, it's do or die. It's one of those kind of things. I would go down the estate agent's high street, getting all the estate agents, say, hey, look, I've got investors on board, even if I didn't have, because this is the challenge. And I'd be like, right, I need to go and view properties. I've got investors with money ready to buy properties. I'd go and view as many properties as I can. I'd put in as many offers as I can. And while I'm doing that, I've got another camera follow me going to property networking events, business networking events, charity balls, angel investing events, like Real Life Dragon's Den. And I'm saying to them, I've got these deals from the estate agents. And let's, do you want to see the deals? Can I package them up for you in some way so you can buy the deals? How the deals work, here's the return. So my friend Gerald Ratner, he did this. When he's obviously had his famous speech, everything went downhill. He lost everything. He was doing 2 billion in sales in the 1980s. He lost everything. And what he did was he wanted to get a gym. And he did 7 years in the wilderness doing nothing. And his wife basically said, look, if you don't get out of the house, I'm leaving you. You've got to go do something. So he went to try around all the commercial, like business parks and all the commercial properties around his town trying to find a gym. And he found some properties that he was trying to put together to get into a gym, but he couldn't get the money. No one would lend him any of the money. And then what he did was he put a newspaper ad for the gym for memberships. And he sold something like 800 memberships out of the newspaper ad for the gym, even though he didn't have the gym. And then in the end, he raised the money for the gym because the wife of the person who he was dealing with in the bank went and bought one of the subscriptions to his gym. So all the banks had knocked him back. And then finally one bank who he was dealing with, pretty much the guy who was sorting the money out for him, his wife, encouraged him to do it because she'd seen his ad in the newspaper and bought a membership to his gym. So Gerald didn't have a gym, but he sold memberships before he had the gym. And the memberships that he sold, they gave him collateral, an asset, to then go and get the loan. Because if you think about it, if you've got 800 contracts at £30 a month back in 87 or 1990, whatever, that's collateral. And then you go to the bank and then they got the bank for the loan for the gym. Then he built the gym. Then he sold the gym for 4 million quid. Not overnight, not in 29 days. So if you're forcing me, I've got to hustle, obviously. But one way to do it is to go find deals from estate agents and money from private investors, even when you haven't got both of them and package them up together. And then the other way is to build a mastermind.
Hold on. Before we go there, because that's really great. And just going to add on that's awesome.
Is that granular enough? Granular enough for you?
Let's go even more granular. So where would you go specifically?
For what?
So for example, where would be the best? So for example, where would you look, number one, for the best deals, and number two, where would you go to get the investors?
Right. So I can tell you where I have done it before, because I've raised tens of millions of pounds for property purchases. I've done most of the deals that I've done have been none of my own money in. So I just walked down Peterborough High Street, which is where I lived. I don't know if you can see out the window there, but about 5-minute walk over the bridge out there, turn right over the bridge and Estate Agents Row. It's called Cowgate. In any city, and I think this would work in any city, Ed, not just mine. In any city, there's an Estate Agents Row. And you don't have to have any qualifications. If you walk into an estate agent, they don't say, what degree have you got? What qualifications have you got to buy a house? Anyone can buy a house. They don't ask for proof of funds until you're ready to make your offer. So it's really quite a, again, I don't like the word hack because it's English connotation of that is a bit schemy, but it's just a little loop, a little get around where most other places you do business, you have to pay up front. You have to pay the consultant, but you don't with an estate agent. So I do it in my local town. And then in terms of events, well, in Peterborough specifically, there's a commercial property event. I know Neville Wright goes there. He's a friend of mine. He sold Kiddie Care. He's worth 100 million quid. I know Bill Singh goes there. He's worth a lot of money. So if you could find like a commercial property networking event in your city, there's progressive property networks in most cities now. In most big cities, there's an angels meeting, like London Business Angels in London or Angels Den. There's those around the country. I met quite a few rich people at my flying club when I got my helicopter license. Maybe that's a bit extreme if you don't fly.
No, but what you're saying is putting yourself into the situations where you're going to find people that have the resources and you don't.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm getting consistently is a message of becoming more resourceful with what you have right now. Yes. Bang, straight out the door in your location. Go to the local agents, find a deal, find where they're getting, like find the local places where the potential investors are, and, flying clubs, etc. They're going to have a higher net worth, and breach them together.
Yeah. Now it's funny because I'm obviously always excited to speak to you, Ed, but I was a bit nervous.
I'm more excited about talking to you.
I was a bit nervous being put on the spot to say raise £100,000 in 29 days, because that to some degree can sound a bit get rich quicky, or like quite
mate, we want get rich quick.
Yeah,
just say it as it is. That is what we want. No, let me tell you straight, Rob. Yeah, no one wants get rich slow. All right? Here's what I say to that, right? If you
say
make
it,
a
Ed.
million
Don't hold back.
Make £1 million in 40 years. That's an average salary of 25,000. That is the get rich slow program. All right.
Yeah.
You want to get rich quick, but that connotation comes with get rich quick scam.
Yeah.
Today, to make £1 million in a year with an information business, as you well know, is not hard.
No.
Exactly. And so therefore, I completely agree with you. An information business at your second option, with the amount of knowledge that this guy knows, who's written over, 1,200 books now?
1,200. 14.
When I came and saw you, and then the next week there was one out, then there's the next one, there's another one, and I was like, fuck me, there's another one. So how many? 14 books?
14. I've got one coming out June the 6th. I'm writing 3 at the moment. Yeah.
What's the one on June the 6th? Let's
pop out more books than women pop out kids in Peterborough, mate.
Boom! What's the book title coming up?
The next one's called I'm Worth More. Realise your value.
Self-development.
Unleash your potential. Yeah.
Commit more.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So information business. So thank you, by the way, for allaying my fears. You're right. I think us British people are a bit worried about get rich quick, but I'll probably do £20 million in sales this year. I became a millionaire between the age of 30 and 31, starting at 27. So it took me 27 years to get 50 grand in debt. And then it took me less than 4 years to get out of that debt and make my first million. So actually, talking about it with you, it's not that hard to get rich quickly. You just got to have the right business model. You got to have the right mindset, and you got to leverage technology and social media and putting yourself out there.
Couldn't agree more. I think today's the barriers are so low. Over the next couple of years, I mean, just last year we did 7 months, over £1 million in one online funnel, and I think the more, that just, as you know, when you hit that sort of kind of target and you open that up, it opens up a whole different way of thinking to what is possible than, I remember I started as a young personal trainer doing one-to-one sessions, and it was hard graft. I put in a lot of hours to make a 50K salary for the year. And, today I can earn that sort of money, online without having to do anything. It's crazy.
I think we should talk about this quickly, Ed, if you don't mind, this sort of, this paradox of hard work, because old school society and generations have taught us, work hard, you'll get rewarded, you'll get your pension, you'll get your overtime. It's all about hard work. But when you're an entrepreneur, you can work all day, but on nothing productive, or you can, like you said, create a vertical, a funnel, or get smart on some social media and repurpose content across 8 or 9 different media. And I really do prefer smart work and leverage than I do hard work.
1 second, Rob, 1 second. I'm just going to let this do 1 second.
Yeah. Ed's just gone to let someone in. He's left me on my own. What are your thoughts watching live?
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're back.
Go for it. Yeah, so you were flowing? Yeah,
we were talking about smart work versus hard work. And I really think there's a lot of people working really hard. And when you work out the hourly rate, they're probably on £6 or £8 or £10 an hour because they're working really hard, but they're not using assets to create passive income. They're not leveraging technology and social media. You know, they're not building a team. They're not leveraging all of these outsourcers that are very easy to get hold of right now. So I don't think necessarily it is about working hard. I think it's about working smart. I think it's about
it's a difficult one there, because I know that you put in the graft, right? And like when people say and we as entrepreneurs don't switch off. We're continually thinking about, like building, expanding, reducing overheads, getting the message out, different ads, etc., etc., etc. However,
is that your dog?
That's my dog, and
that's not a very big dog, mate.
Mate, it's the tiniest dog ever. Hold on. Come on,
yeah, well, this is live, I suppose. Can you show us your dog, Ed?
That's what you call a tiny dog. It's a very metrosexual dog. But okay, so this is an online beast. This is clickbait as you've ever seen it. That's a different commitment to the online journey. But it's I don't think, compared to how I used to work when I would do 14 hours, like 14 one-to-one sessions as a maximum in the day. And even then people would say, you work hard. And I was like, I don't really work hard. I'm talking in these sessions. I don't think that's hard work, but it's a commitment to doing something over a period of time. And then thinking about, in my personal opinion, is how can I do this smarter? How can I be more efficient? How can I be more effective? How can I get, how can I do one to many and do the same product? Like, we're not working hard now. This is not what I would classify you in your information-based business. Writing books, again, it's that's your passion and your creative. I again don't classify that like the world doesn't pay in fair. It's people in Sainsbury's right now that are packing shelves, working on a bank holiday, are working hard, but it doesn't mean that you just get paid. I think the millennial, and this is what I was at a youth conference recently, and they totally get the concept of working smart, but they don't have any, like, they want to do nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't do nothing. You have to be willing to put your graft in the first place. Like, I know that you are working all the, like, you are your business, and you're in it all the time, and you're smashing out content left, right, and center. It's not that you're not. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's a difficult one, isn't it? When it's like,
well, I think it's a balance. It's the paradox. I can't remember who said this. I think it might have been the guy who writes the series of books that are all in the airports. I think it's Richard Templar, Rules for Life, Rules for Work. And I think he said, you have to work hard enough not to have to work hard. And I thought that was a good analogy. You don't plant a seed and expect a tree the next day. But it's your definition of work. I completely agree. There's people out in the third world who have to walk 20 miles to get water. How can I say, you say I put loads of content out there and I'm always on it, but I'm always on it because I want to be on it. I was doing a workout in my outdoor gym this morning. I took a break in the middle. I did an Instagram live. I did a bit more of a workout. I took a break. I did a Facebook live. And to me, that's living a cool life, enjoying what I'm
definitely
doing. So I think the key here, superseding the whole thing that we've said, is find something that you can enjoy doing, because most things are monetizable. I think, a lot of people say, oh, you need a market. You need to make sure that there's not a saturated market. But I think you can monetize most things now. I don't think that's the issue, because you can reach people across the world through podcasts and live streams. You can reach millions of people. So I think as long as you really enjoy something and you can see yourself doing it for a long time, this is the important thing. I can see myself writing books for a long time, doing podcasts for a long time, but buying properties for a long time, running businesses for a long time, because I know that I love that. And then, like, it's a paradox, because some people are like, Rob, you work all the time. But I'm like, no, I'm not working at all. It's what I want to do. Oh, but Rob, it is technically work. Well, it's technically work because I earn from it, but it's technically a hobby because I love doing it.
I totally get you on that. Just really quick, can I interject on that to help unpick? So like, just going, so the two models that you've chosen again, and I totally get that, going from the property, go out, be resourceful, find the deals, put that together, right? Create an information-based business. So the questions we get a lot, right, are, again, so let me help you give me my link into it. Like, the first thing I got into was fitness. And so I became I had a bad back, and then I learned how to recondition my back. A physio taught me this year structure. That was the first thing that I ended up teaching to someone else, is how to, you know, get a better, stronger core and fix your back. And then from that, I started building on top of it, and then went into kind of fitness, coaching, you know, I retrained as a behavioral psychologist, and started doing, you know, like, you know, getting in through that. Was yours, what was your entry in? And because you're going back 29 days to make 100K with the knowledge you have right now, which is backed on a load of different businesses, raising capital, all of this, you know, being able to generate 11 books, 12, 14, 15, 17, 200,000 books comes from life experience. How did you, you know, like, what have you got to say to that? How does someone do that? Number one. Number two, how did you do that?
Okay, so I started when I was 25/26 years old. I was a struggling artist in quite a lot of debt.
That's interesting. Oh yeah, I remember you said that, the artist.
Yeah, and I loved art, and I was good at art, but I couldn't monetize it because I had all sorts of value and worth and belief issues, which I didn't know back then. A gallery owner in one of my galleries that was hanging my work had kept trying to get me to this property event that I dismissed because I just thought, well, I'm a property guy. Sorry, I'm an artist. How would I get into property? I don't have any money. I don't know what I'm doing. And my dad had a nervous breakdown in front of all the customers in his pub. He was diagnosed with bipolar. He was sectioned and beaten up by the police. And it all happened publicly. And I felt a lot of shame and quite responsible for my part in that, because I've been relying on him for a lot of years for money. I mean, 25 years old, still working for him, still needing his money. And that shame drove me to make a change. And I went back to this gallery owner and I said, right, I'll go to this property event. And I went. And at the very first event, at the end, the last person I met was a guy called Mark Homer, who's my business partner still to this day, 13 years on. And he gave me 3 books to read: Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and Man in Babylon. I read them in a week. I went back to him the next week. We met. He said, have you read the books? I went, yeah. And I recited all the stuff in them. And he was like, wow. And he's like, I'm going to try and get you involved in what we do. About 6 weeks later, he got me a job in the company he was working for. There was a property company selling overseas off-plan new build properties. The owner gave me a phone, a few leads, and he said, right, close them. And I had no idea how to do that. So then Mark was giving me sales CDs and DVDs to watch, you know, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, all of that. I was gobbling all that up. And we bought 20 properties in our first year with Mark's money, Mark's mum's money, Mark's dad's money. We got all of that back out through a refinance by adding value, and then we used that again, and then we used my mum's money and my uncle's money, and then reinvested Mark's money, and we got to 50 properties in 2 years.
Amazing.
Then we started selling properties to other people, because people are like, you guys have done well, you're in your 20s, you've got a lot of property, can you source deals for us? And we probably sourced 350, 400 deals in the next 5 years. Concurrently sourcing deals and buying for ourselves. So we have 2 income streams at this point. We're 2 years in. I wrote a book. Now, I feel like I know where your question was going. It's all right for you, Rob. You've got experience. You can run masterminds and courses because you've got... It
was the breakdown of it. Yeah.
But everyone's got experience in something. And I think you can learn and then do and then teach.
Yeah, agreed.
20 years ago, that took 10 years to learn, then do, then teach. Now you can learn and do and teach in the same year.
Yeah.
As long as you hustle, as long as you're resourceful. And in your 29-day challenge, I'd be doing 12 hours a day, and I'd be learning a lot. I'd be listening to podcasts while I'm running, podcasts in the car, podcasts in the gym, to try and get as much knowledge as I could really quick.
And there's so much free available, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And
just hit them with your podcast at
The Disruptive Entrepreneur.
Number 1 in business, right?
Yeah, I mean, it goes up and down. It's not always number 1, but it's been number 1 a lot.
Nice.
So so I wrote a book called Property Investing Secrets. This was, we probably had 50, 60 properties at this point, but it only took 2 years. We were packaging deals for other people. We were selling them at $3,000 to $5,000 a go. And then when the book came out, it sold really well, became a bestseller in the UK. And then that spurned another book and another book. And then we ran our first course that year, then our second course that year. Now we run 850 training days or courses a year. So it can compound and snowball pretty quickly. For someone who's starting, who's trying to make 100 grand in 29 days, what do you already know? What have you already done? When you were saying
write it down, what do you already know?
Right, exactly. So fix your back, then you can teach others how to fix their back. Get a six-pack, then you can teach others how to get a six-pack. You've got to obviously be doing what you teach, because I don't believe in people teaching what they don't know. And that is a downside to our industry. There are a few like that. But anyone listening or watching, you've got experience, even if it's playing chess or, you know, you're brilliant at snooker or something like that. It's so much easier now to get information out there. Information is a real commodity. It's like gold. It has more physical, practical qualities now than most people think. Information is just ethereal. But people will pay for information because everyone is busy, and people value time, and they're buying back time by investing in masterminds, courses, etc.
Solid. I like it, mate.
Cool.
What's the key to life? Last one.
I think the purpose of life is growth and self-actualization. And I think a big myth in the world is that people think that happiness is the key to life. Of course, we all want to be happy, but if we have that sense of I'm happy with everything how I want it to be, then there's nothing to strive for. And it's a paradox, because we have this vision of, hey, my life will be perfect and I will be happy when. But when everything seems to be just so, you need more. You need to write another book. You need to challenge yourself. You need to jump out of an airplane. You need to move to a different city. Human beings have an urge to grow, because if we don't grow as an individual, we don't grow as a species. And if we don't grow as a species and evolve, we die out. And self-actualization, i.e. Becoming your full potential of who you are as an individual and therefore as a species, aids evolution in the best way. This could be another podcast, Ed. There's a hell of a lot of hippies out there, mate, saying, oh, I just want my kids to be happy and I just want to be happy. But the definition of happiness, according to scientist David J. Lieberman, is, and he's been very technical about how he studied this and how he says it, and it's a lot of information in a very short phrase. He says, meaningful progress towards a worthy goal. That is his definition of scientifically researched happiness, with the four main chemicals that create happiness. So meaningful, i.e. something big, something challenging, not sitting there chilling. Progress, i.e. growth, struggle, forward momentum towards a meaningful as in substantial, big, meaty, difficult, and then goal. Goal is future, not now. So this is why you've got to put your kids through challenge if you've got kids, and you can't just let them be happy and do whatever they want. I don't know how much you want me to rant on this, Ed.
Are you happy?
Am I happy? I am happy at points. No one is always happy. The people that are looking to always be happy, looking at others who they think are always happy, that's a paradox, mate, because it's impossible to always be happy. And I know, the ironic thing is, I say this and hippies massive go at me and flip out. And these are the people who are supposed to be the happiest. No, I am happy when I am moving forward. But when I'm moving forward, I'm hitting hurdles and challenges, and there's people getting in my way, and there's critics, and there's things that break, and it pisses me off, but I know I'm moving forward. So am I happy? I know I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing, Ed. I know I'm living the life I'm meant to be living. So when I put my head down on the pillow, a good day or a hard day, I know I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. And I think that's as good as I can ask for. But I want challenges, and I want things to be hard so that I can do something that's meaningful and leave a legacy that's bigger than me. And I want to improve every day. So in that regard, I'm not always satisfied.
That's interesting. So did you ever get it where you achieve something and then you're not happy because of that? Do you ever have that?
No, I wouldn't say I've ever achieved something and then not been happy because of it, because I'm clear that if I achieved it, I manifested it and I wanted it. And I do think you have to be careful what you wish for. So I'm never one that gone, oh, I've got this thing and now I don't like this thing. A good example of this, I see this a lot. Some people say, oh, I had money and there was so much responsibility and then I lost money. As life is so much easier without money. Well, they may think that, but I've got decent amounts of money, like I'm a multimillionaire, and my life is so much better with money. Have I got more problems and challenges and critics because I've got more money? Yeah. But am I happier because I've got more money? Yeah. So I'm aware that I've got what I wished for. But I just now know that when you wish for something, you can't have all upside. There's always, there's the full package, including the downside.
What triggers you today?
Just real quick on this one, because I'm going to answer a different question. It'll take me like 5 seconds. What I get all the time, though, is I achieve something, and then I'm like, right, done, next. And then the void was filled for about a day, and then it's like, next book. As soon as my book's out, next book. As soon as the podcast hits 1 million listeners or 2 million listeners, it's like I need 3 or 5. You know what that's like as an entrepreneur. It is a bit of a curse.
I gotta say, I don't have that. I don't have the that massive desire for more. I totally appreciate what you're saying. I'm not saying I'm immune to, like, I'm always striving, always pushing further forward. But I sit in a very, and I'm not saying you're not, I sit in a very grateful space for whatever I have, because I know there's always going to be 100 million people that are more successful, faster, sharper, quicker, better, in some shape or form. And I'm just, I don't suffer from comparison problems. No. And I've always been cool with that. Like, I'm very comfortable.
Your beautiful face. That's why, mate. You've got this, like, yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I've never had. I'm not saying I totally appreciate that. I tried to kill myself when I was 13. That's where mine starts. From 13, I never thought I was going any further. So my life fucking sucked. It sucked shit. And I was so grateful for being able to have that second. And I wonder sometimes if that's the core element. Like, I'm just so excited right now to be able to be doing what we're doing. And of course I want to fine tune it, improve it, and maximize it. But anything as a plus in my life is always an extra bonus. So yeah. I am very grateful for, I'm not saying that you're not.
No, I get it. You're
I look at someone like yourself and I think you're so fucking successful, and so you got it all, right? And so I would always think, like, and I'm not, I totally hear what you're saying, because that's that drive that gets you there.
Yeah. It's about how do I handle it? How do I hone it? Because, like, I've got a different upbringing to you. I was a really overweight kid. I was the fattest kid in the year. And if you're the second fattest kid in the year, you can always hide behind the first fattest kid in the year who gets all the abuse. The second fattest kid in the year gets none of the abuse. I got all the abuse. And do you know what? A lot of it was, I got it, but a lot of it was just in my head. They're talking about me, fat fuck this, fat fuck there, that, and mate, I hated it. I hated it so bad. I hated it. And I cried myself to sleep. Every weekend when I was stuck at school, when my parents had sent me boarding, I begged my parents to let me get out of the school. I begged them for 2 years, and in the end, they moved, and they moved further out from where my school was, and so I convinced them to send me to another school, and they said yes because it was closer. So I went on a massive diet for 8 weeks in the school holidays. It was just when Diet Coke had come out, and I thought you could drink Diet Coke and you would lose weight, as in it would make you lose weight. There was something chemical in it. But if you don't eat any food and you just drink 10 cans of Diet Coke a day, mate, you lose a lot of weight. And I just became lean and skinny. And you'd think that my life was everything I ever wanted it to be. Yeah. But all the need to please people, the need to be noticed, the need to be loved, appreciated, not talked about, not bullied, that never went away. And so what I've had to do is learn to see the positive in it and try and use it as a force for good and a driver. But there's no doubt it's there, mate. It sounds like you've had a life experience that's done the opposite. You tried to kill yourself, you're at the end of your road, and so now you're grateful for life. For me...
And not that I don't push, I remember I don't know if you've met Brendan Burchard before. I remember I heard him speak a couple of years, I think about 5-6 years ago. And he was talking about the difference between how entrepreneurs sometimes get driven by the desire for achievement and like non-satisfaction that I'm being satisfied. I remember I had a client who was a Russian, my first corporate big client, super successful. And I can see that behavior very consistent in Russian sort of kind of mentality was, don't be satisfied with what you have, to drive to further and using that to ignite. And I get that. However, my understanding is, and I definitely used to have that when I was younger, like you've got to get, because we came from nothing, wanted to get out of that, and that was the driver. But the desire when it shifted for me and mentally, where I could actually enjoy my life more, when I realized being satisfied for what you have is actually a stronger driver than being dissatisfied, because you're coming from a place of like, this is fucking amazing. This is fucking like, and you're appreciating every single step of the way, rather than waiting for something else to happen to be happy. So happily achieving versus, waiting to be happy because you achieve something. So,
I think this is one of the paradoxes of life. I think if you
definitely
study life enough, there's a paradox in everything. And too much satisfaction breeds complacency.
Agreed.
Too much sitting there trying to find happiness means you don't endure enough challenges. But it is an empty, vacuous pursuit if you never stop and smell the roses. So what I've had to learn to do is not compare myself to others other than for motivation. What I try and do is balance the paradoxes in my head as well. So if something annoys me, I try and immediately think about something that pleases me. If someone pisses me off, I try and think about someone who made me happy. If I criticize myself, I try and immediately pat myself on the back. If I feel envy, I try and immediately feel gratitude and love. So I try and balance it out, because actually you need both the forces, because all gratitude without a slight emptiness of drive would just mean you wouldn't push forward.
No, agreed.
I think gratitude is really powerful, really, really powerful, because I think gratitude is an emotion that radiates, that other people are attracted by. Whereas as much as it's good to be relentless and in the pursuit of success, that can be attritional, and some people don't like that. They perceive it as greed or power. So definitely gratitude. The practice of gratitude, i.e. it's something you need to practice. And that's something I've tried to do a lot more of. And this conversation makes me want to do even more of it. And then my personality is the sort of thing where I'll beat myself up for not being grateful enough. I'm not grateful enough. I'm such a twat.
Let me tell you, I'm grateful for you, your time. I want to say a big thank you. It's hugely empowering to, and for that last section, that's really the key to the whole thing. Let's just do a little recap. 29 days, Rob Moore's version is, go out, outsource those deals, put those two together. And what I got from that, massively resourceful. Don't, just listen to some of the little hot tips that were in there. Met a business partner, made some agreements, he set some targets, and he completed and over-delivered, go out, commit, short periods of time, maximize that, create an information business about something you're passionate about, smash out a shitload of books, smash out podcasts. If you haven't already been on Rob's podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur, at the tops of there, a beautiful, how many episodes a week, Rob?
On average 2, we've done nearly 400 now.
Amazing. And you've got some great people on there. So I appreciate you, Rob. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And Ed, where can people follow you for people listening?
At Ed JC Smith, if you want to check it out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, the same, at Ed, the letter J, the letter C, Smith. And pleasure to help you. If you want a digital-based business or an online-based business, then a pleasure to help you. Podcast, How to Start a Business.
Cheers, Ed.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, everyone.
If you're a coach and consultant, you're tired of not getting clients at the click of your fingers, then go grab a copy of my book at www.coachingbusinesssecrets. It's a straight line approach so that you don't have to get overwhelmed, so you don't have to worry about whether it's going to work for you. All right, we're talking scripts, web scripts, ad scripts, you name it, it's all included. It's actually $100 plus, and I'm giving it away for a fraction of that, less than a cup of coffee, so you can get deep down into that, and so you can finally grow the business that you really want to grow without all the hassle. That being said, no matter what happens, never give up on your dreams. I cannot wait to see you on the next video.